Okay, question 38. Okay, cool. So let's have a look. So you got okay, cool. Let's work this one out. When you do these sort of questions, you got to be looking for things like this, right? So what I would do is I would go. What are some things I would be doing? Intercepts would be the first thing. Got it? So any X-intercepts and Y-intercepts. So what's your Y-intercept? So Y-intercepts happen when X equals to 0. So X 0 squared is 0. So you got 0 minus 1 is negative 1. 3 over negative 1 is negative 3. That's your X-intercept. Yep. Your Y-intercept is when? Oh, sorry, your X-intercept is when? So this is your Y. This is your Y-intercept. Yep. And your X-intercept is when X equals to 0. And your Y and your X-intercept is when Y is equal to 0. Yep. Is there such thing as a X-intercept in this question? No, because the top's equal to 3, so Y cannot be equal to 0. Does that make sense? So the answer is none. Right? So we just know what our Y-intercept is. Got it? Okay. Now, then the next thing we do is probably look for domain and range. Yep, what's that? Is there any X values that cannot be? Well, let's have a think. Domain X squared minus 1 equals to 0. So the bottom cannot equal to 0, right? Sorry? Yep. So it's like all real, but X cannot equal positive or negative 1. Got that? What about the range? Is there any value that can't equal? 0, yes. No, X can equal. Y can. Oh, yes, Y cannot be 0. What else can't it be? Let's have a look. So, in other words, that has to be positive. Yep, X squared has to be positive. Yep. So, let's solve that. So just say if X is positive, when X is equal to 0, Y is equal to negative 3, right?
Yeah.
When X is equal to 1, equal to 1, Y is infinity, so that exists. The domain, the range. So what's the maximum value that can be? The bottom. Negative 1, right? Yeah. So one of your limits is going to be negative 3, and the other limit is going to be, as X approaches infinity, right, Y is going to approach 0. Does that make sense? But it'll never quite reach 0. Can you actually have a value that's bigger than negative 3? What value is that? or yep, x equals to minus 1. So minus 1, okay, so can you have a value, sorry, what I'm saying is, can you have a value for y that y is horizontal? Can you have a value for y that's greater than minus 3, but less than 0? That we know is the range. But can you have a value that's outside of that range? It's not going to equal 0 because that's an asymptote. Sorry?
Yes.
What? Can you give me an example?
X. Sorry.
If x equals to 3, x squared equals to 9. 9 minus 1 is 8. Oh yeah, you can. It can be equal to, it'll be positive, won't it? Oh, looks like maybe, so looks like these values can happen. Yeah, okay, let's have a think also about any, let's leave range for the time being. It might be a little bit harder than we just think, right? So we'll just leave that for the time being. What about, what else is there? There's the asymptotes, right? Asymptotes. Minus 3 as well. Alright, cool. Asymptotes. Now, the vertical asymptotes is when
1 and minus 1.
equals to 1 or x equals to minus 1. Yep. And then the horizontal asymptotes.
Here.
Yep. So, yep. So is when y equals to 0. Good. Okay. Now, as x approaches positive infinity, what's y doing? Approaching 0 from above. When x approaches negative infinity, y is approaching 0 from
above.
Yes, above as well. Got it? Cool. Now, let's have a look at this. As x approaches 1, let's have a look. I'll just continue. As x approaches 1 from the right, right? In other words, as x approaches 1 from the right, so in other words, from a bigger number than x, what's y going to approach? Positive or negative infinity? So you got basically 1.1, let's say for example 1.1. Yep. 1.1 squared is a positive number. Minus 1 is still a positive number, but a really small positive number. So y is going to approach positive infinity. Got it?
Yeah.
Whereas x is approaching 1 from below, right? You've got like the square of a number that's less than 1. So a number that's just less than 1 minus 1 is going to be positive or negative. So, for example, 0.999 squared. That's still going to be a number that's smaller than 1.
Yeah.
Smaller than 1 minus 1 is positive or negative. Negative, yep, so it's going to be a negative answer. Negative number over 3, which is a positive number, is going to be negative infinity, yeah? Let's do the same thing here. as x approaches -1 from above, and as x approaches to -1 from below, what's going to happen to y? It's going to approach infinity of some sort, but whether it approaches negative or positive infinity, we'll find out. So, as x approaches -1 from above, so in other words, it's going to be like negative 0.09, no, 0.9 something, right? So it's going to be just under 1 when you square it. Yep. So overall, y is going to approach negative infinity, right? Because you square a 0.99999, you square that, it's going to be a positive number still. Yep. But it's going to be less than 1. When you minus 1, it's going to be negative. This overall thing is going to be negative, right? A really small negative number. 3 divided by a really small negative number gives you a negative infinity answer. Does that make sense? And now this time when minus 1, when it approaches it from below, so in other words, you've got a negative 1.00001, you square that and minus 1, it's still going to be a slightly positive number, but it's only a very small, minuscule number. So you got a positive number divided by a positive number that leads to positive infinity. Got it?
Yeah.
So what does that all mean when we graph it? So let's try graphing this. So when you've got that and that's x, when you've got that and that's y, what you've got is, let's have a look. You got negative and positive 1 are the asymptotes, right? You got negative 1 and positive 1 are your asymptotes. Got it?
Yeah.
And it's going to approach x. As x approaches 1 from above, y is going to approach positive infinity. So in other words, let's do the asymptote. Right, so it's -1. So basically, as x approaches 1 from above, y is going to approach positive infinity. Positive infinity is this way. Right, so it's going to look like that. And as x approaches positive infinity, which is this way, y approaches 0 from above. Got it? Does that make sense for that bit? As x approaches -1 from above meaning from here, it approaches negative infinity. So it's that bit there. Got it? Whereas as x approaches -1 from below, so in other words from here, y is going to approach positive infinity. So it's positive infinity. Positive is up this way for y. So it's going to do something like this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, it's the in-between bit that's going to be all funny. Now, the y-intercept when x equals 0 is -3. So it's -3 over here. Yep. So it's, and we also know that this bit is going to be negative. Yep. So what's going to happen is x approaches 1 from above. Approaches 1 from above. Oh, sorry, from below, right? As x approaches 1 from below, y is approaching to negative infinity. So as it gets closer and closer to +1 from this direction, it's actually going to approach negative infinity, which is that. And we know it passes through that point. I reckon it's going to look like this. Does that make sense? Yep. You want me to explain certain bits again? That is this bit. Okay?
Yeah.
We worked out that bit there. We worked out that bit there. We worked out the asymptote. Yep.
Yeah.
That bit there and that bit there. We worked out this bit there. We worked out this bit there, just as x approaches to +1 and -1, either from below, which is this is approaching from below, and this is approaching from above. In other words, above meaning from the positive x arm to the negative x arm.
Okay.
Yep. We've worked out that. We've worked out that. We've also worked out this, and we've also worked out that. Okay. So you join the dots together. That's going to happen. That's going to happen. And then you got -3 here, so when x equals to 0, and then you got that happening there. Got it?
Yeah.
Good.